I arrived at court and I actually saw him waiting downstairs. I was taken by a staff member upstairs, where I was greeted by the police officer dealing with the case. I'd already taken a diazepam before I left to calm my nerves, but after seeing him, I took another one. I really did not want to stand up in court. I had asked earlier for special measures to be put in place. I do not remember anything after that, if I'm honest. All I know is that I kept asking the police officer about the special measures, as I did not want to see him, but I'd already seen him, and I was so scared and nervous about not being believed and standing up in court to give evidence. The police officer went to investigate for me. I was asked to make a victim impact statement also. I'm not going to read it all out, and I'd actually kind of forgotten what I put, and then I found it, and I just want to read a small little part out. I started to not wear makeup to look as unattractive as possible, so I wouldn't be accused of flirting or wanting other men. I would do anything to remain invisible so people wouldn't look at me, especially when driving, as I would get a punch in the side of my head. I now have panic alarms in my home, and I am deemed high risk because of the detail in which Mr. Psychopath went into about how he was going to kill me, or by burning my house down while I was still in it. I am so fearful. I am now having counselling with Women's Aid, as the impact of the domestic violence has been very traumatic. I don't feel safe in Ireland anymore, as I brought Mr. Psychopath over to live with me. He has no other connections here, and he came back after being released from prison to declare himself homeless when all his family are in Liverpool. Mr. Psychopath is a dangerous individual who is a threat to women, men, and children. I believe he will continue to be violent and abusive because he genuinely believes everyone else, and he never takes responsibility for his actions. It was a drink's fault I got a slap, or it was my fault because I looked guilty. I also believed I deserved everything he did, as I was dependent on Mr. Psychopath. I trusted him, but all that happened was he abused my trust and love, when all I did was welcome him into my home and welcomed him with love. Even now, I'm trying to work out how somebody can choke you around your throat 1 minute and the next say, I love you. I'm in flight or fight mode, and my anxiety is through the roof. I still can't relax and jump at every noise. I sleep with the portable panic alarm next to my bed. I don't think I will ever be safe from Mr. Psychopath, and honestly believe I will be forever looking over my shoulder. What kind of life is that? Mr. Psychopath lies, cheats, and manipulates and bullies everyone and everything around him, all the while playing the victim, when in fact he is a dangerous man with no empathy and a lack of respect for authority and the law. The police officer came back up and came into the room and told me that Mr. Psychopath had changed his plea to guilty. Apparently, I spoke to someone and agreed on the guilty plea, but the death threats were not on the charge sheet. I did email and I got this reply back. This email was sent to me on the 9th of February 2021. I have sought advice from the prosecutor who dealt with your case at court, and her account differs from your recollection. While at court, the prosecutor explained to you that she would seek an adjournment to obtain medical evidence to make special measures application. You did not wish for the case to be adjourned. The prosecutor also explained to you that defence counsel was seeking the prosecution views on a possible way forward, which included entering guilty pleas to both assaults and full facts of threats and racist remarks being outlined to the court. You considered this for a while and subsequently agreed it was a good way to resolve the case. The directing officer has confirmed that your victim impact statement made on the 15th of January will be before the appeal judge for sentencing. I trust this is of assistance. I do not recall any conversation with anybody. That the whole day was a complete and utter blur to me. So if I'm honest, to this day, I don't remember that conversation. I don't remember much of court day, and I really just don't want to. I know the police did not know half of it, and I do remember saying some of the charges were not on the sheet, but at this point my head was fried. I just remember being so shocked to see him downstairs. I don't think any victim should have to see their perpetrators. I went in feeling sick that he was making me give evidence, but to have to see him made it all the worse. I was told he received 11 months. Do I think 11 months was enough? Absolutely not. We often see perpetrators of domestic abuse receiving short custodial sentences of 12 months or less. Despite the serious nature of their crimes, perpetrators are dangerous and often repeat offenders who pose a real threat to the safety of survivors if they aren't behind bars. On average, 2 women a week are killed by a current or former partner. This is a harrowing statistic and shows little chance of changing. I know I'm lucky that he got prison time, but I think the reason that I was so shocked he only got 11 months is because I didn't report any of the other assaults. I never mentioned the sexual assaults because I didn't think anyone would believe me. Plus, I only reported the attack that happened on the night that he was arrested. Mr. Psychopath, being a narcissist, appealed his sentence. He lost his appeal, which did not surprise me. He seemed to think he didn't do anything wrong, and I know it would have made him very angry to lose the appeal. I continue to get support from Women's Aid in County Fermanagh, and I'm truly grateful to them. I also decided to stop running and address the issues that led me to be in this situation in the first place. The trauma I had suffered from a young age. I realised that for me to survive and not to be a victim again, I had to strip my soul bare and admit and say out loud and confront the demons from the past. And instead of thinking I was wrong or that I was confused, I finally said it out loud. I admitted that I had been sexually abused as a young girl. Once I said it out loud, there was no going back. I had an amazing counsellor from Nexus who spent 12 weeks with me. I will admit it took Mr. Psychopath for me to finally look at my life and address my childhood abuse and to heal. But not addressing those issues and suppressing them led me down a dangerous path. I have since had a lot of different therapy and counselling. I remember one counsellor saying to me, "You shouldn't be here. You should either be on heroin, selling yourself on the street, or dead." At the time, I remember thinking, what did she just say? Wow, how unprofessional. But looking back and knowing what I know now, she was right. Addiction and trauma in adult life stems from childhood trauma, and by not addressing those issues, they lead to drink and drugs because people want to numb the pain and they want to forget. So I realised how lucky I was compared to some other people. I even did a course in counselling myself, as I knew my experience could help others. I always knew from a small child that I was here to heal and help others. I have started to study astrology as I'm a natural psychic, and I use tarot as a tool. But after looking at my birth chart, I knew my life here was not meant to be easy. And the reason I had to go through these issues is so that I could get through the other side to help others understand that none of this was ever my fault or your fault. Even though I had the non-molestation order put in place, I still continued to hear from Mr. Psychopath. So I changed my number and made a new email, but I kept my old email. At the end of summer 2021, a family member found out what had happened as I'd hid so much. They were shocked and extremely upset, and I admitted that I didn't feel safe, even though I had panic alarms and extra security in my home, and the non-molestation order never stopped Mr. Psychopath. So when I finally admitted everything that happened, I was given a couple of weeks to pack up my home, arrange a removal van, and come back to London. I originally went back to Liverpool for about a month because my home or my house here in London wasn't ready, and I'd spent 10 years of my adult life in Liverpool before going to Ireland. So I spent a month back in Liverpool where I'd spent 10 years of my adult life before I headed back down to London, where I'd spent the majority of my life, or my childhood and my teenage years in London. It was such a relief to be home. I was even happy to be in Liverpool. I loved that city, and even though Mr. Psychopath was from there, he'll never take that love away from me. But to finally come back to London after being away for 14 years, I was overwhelmed. Nothing had changed, but I had as a person. And I will be honest, I think I was suffering from trauma bonding when I got home. So trauma bonding is a connection between an abusive person and an individual they abuse. It is a reflective of an attachment created by repeating physical and emotional trauma with positive reinforcement. And it can be really hard to break free from. And after about 2 weeks of being home, I had a breakdown. I think everything had just come to a head. I think because I knew I was safe and back home, I finally allowed myself to accept everything that had happened. I just cried for hours like a wounded animal. And this actually went on for like a good few days of crying. And it is all part of the healing process. And none of this is my fault. And I had finally accepted that. Mr. Psychopath has been in and out of prison since I left. And as far as I'm aware, he is still in Northern Ireland. He used to constantly email my old email address, telling me about his regrets and he was sorry. You must ignore the psychopath, the narcissist. And I definitely ignored him. And once I ignored him, after the nice emails, not long after, the nasty emails come through. I actually thought, how pathetic you are, you sad individual. The narcissist never really leaves you. You are an object, their possession. The last email I received from him was July 2023. He sent a picture of us holding hands, telling me that the picture made him feel sad and he was full of regrets and he could have been better and he was just a bit of a weirdo. I just thought, a weirdo, okay, mate. And then asking for us to give it another go. And I was like, he must be desperate. He must have used up all his supply. And then he sent a photo of himself and I laughed out loud. I looked at him and I kind of knew then that I had healed because I laughed. I laughed at his photo. I laughed at his patheticness. He's so ugly. Ugly on the inside, ugly on the outside. And I actually felt great to kind of have that kind of power back. For me, it's not about the power, but just knowing that it wouldn't matter what he said, what he did, what he sent. I don't care. I don't care for him. I care for myself. I never replied. You never reopened the door. I wanted to fire off a message saying you're an idiot. Fuck off. But I didn't. I must have hurt his feelings by ignoring him and also hurt his ego. Because I think about a week later, I got a really nasty, vile email. The usual spouting, you're a fat cunt, I never liked you, I used you, you're a joke. My defence was, it's a good job I had a shit solicitor because otherwise I would have walked. I just thought, fuck off, mate, go away. In my victim impact statement, I stated that I don't think that I will ever be free from him and that I will always be looking over my shoulder. I don't look over my shoulder, but I do think that he will forever try and make some kind of contact. I know a lot of you would have been like, you should have blocked him. For me, knowing what he's like, it's good to kind of know where he's at and what he's doing. For me, I've never replied, I never would. I don't care for him at all. And actually the last email I did get from him, which must have been August or September of 2023, is I will never hear from him again. Very dramatic from him, you know, because I'd hurt his ego. Sometimes in life, we are sent people. Some are lessons, some are blessings. Some come for a reason and some stay for a season. If I can be brutally honest, I believe dating apps are the breeding ground for these types of people. And I just think dating in general is tough. I have chose to stay single and I'm happy. And that's the most important thing, is that I am happy within myself. And I'm slowly beginning to love myself, because to love another person, you have to love yourself. But for those of you who do choose to date or go and meet people, I beg you to please use Claire's Law. Claire's Law gives you the right to ask about your husband, boyfriend or partner's background, whether you're male, female, you're in a heterosexual or same-sex relationship. If you're worried about your current or former partner has a history of violence, Claire's Law gives you the right to find out. If I'd used Claire's Law, I could have saved myself a lot of heartache and hurt, and I could have stopped the hurt and heartache of the others that were around me and had to endure what I went through. I want to end this by reading a poem which my counsellor at Women's Aid gave me. It's called I've Got Flowers Today, and this is for all the battered women. I got flowers today. It wasn't my birthday or any other special day. We had our first argument last night, and he said a lot of cruel things that really hurt. I know that he is sorry and didn't mean to say the things he said, because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. It wasn't our anniversary or any other special day. Last night he threw me into the wall and started to choke me. It seemed like a nightmare. I couldn't believe it was real. I woke up this morning sore and bruised all over. I know he must be sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. It wasn't our anniversary or any other special day. Last night he beat me and threatened to kill me. Makeup and long sleeves didn't hide the cuts and bruises this time. I couldn't go to work today because I didn't want anyone to know. But I know he's sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today, and it wasn't Mother's Day or any other special day. Last night he beat me again, and it was the worse than all the other times. If I leave him, what will I do? How will I take care of the kids? What about money? I'm afraid of him. I'm too scared and dependent to leave him, but he must be sorry because he sent me flowers today. I got flowers today. Today was a special day. It was my funeral. Last night he killed me. If only I could have gathered the courage and strength to leave him, I could have received help from the women's shelter, but I didn't ask for their help. So I got flowers today for the last time.